Another story about the day when you were naked and bathing in the rain. Perhaps a perfect weekend for many of you is to watch a movie or play games from morning to night, or spend the night with your friends at a certain grassy restaurant and suddenly remember that you don't have enough money. But have you ever felt that the older you get, the more the game seems to lose its appeal? Hundreds of games in your Steam account, but you can't find any interesting game to turn it on. The feeling of excitement in your youth is gone. Friends and comrades who have been side by side since this battle have fought. Other than being online anymore, doesn't video games get worse as you grow up? And you know, I'm Professor Latte Mill. Today I'm going to help you answer that question, but now let's get started. Of course, the first thing that makes today's games so boring is not because of you, my little friends, but the fault of the game studios. When you are an uncle who is about to live 1/3 of his life, it certainly doesn't take 10 minutes. You will realize that the games are all following certain patterns coming out that you yourself. You've never seen it before. Valorant is a bit like CSGO with some Overwatch colors. Elden Ring is a better version of Dark Soul, but the gameplay is still up and down to eat from bot to bot, simply because they are the sole genre. Mini World, a more cuddly version of Minecraft, no longer has any game that arouses the feeling of surprise, excitement, and longing to experience it. All of them are developer-inspired by old games. The fact that one game learns from another isn't bad in itself, but when it's applied to the extreme, it's a different story. There was a time when game companies didn't try to cover up their own laziness. Call of Duty, huh? 1 copy a year? Assassin's Creed? 1 copy per year. The upgrade of the copy compared to the previous version is also there, but you have to use a microscope to see it. Why do game companies do this? Simple. They are companies and they are in business to make a profit. It is much safer to follow a formula that has guaranteed success than to venture into a new direction, producing new versions. Faster, easier, and more money. There's nothing wrong with doing it. It is this sustainable mindset that has made AAA games gradually go into that rut, and creativity almost only appears in indie games. In addition, every time a certain game series is hot, there will be many other games that are unrelated, but game makers try to cram the same element into it. For example, Battlefield 2042, which is EA developed a battle royale formula just to follow the trend and completely forget why people play Battlefield. In the past, games were distributed mainly in the form of discs, and it was extremely difficult to patch and fix bugs when products were released on the market. However, in 2003, Valve launched its streaming service that provided gamers with a convenient place to buy games as well as auto-update extremely easily. Its advantages are undeniable, but because game patches and updates can be delivered, users over the internet have made many publishers develop a habit, which is to release the game first and fix the bugs later, instead of creating a finished product in the best possible way. Since then, they have been much more negligent, typically such as Fallout 76 or Cyberpunk 2077. When the game came out, it couldn't be played, but after a few updates that took months to a year, the game finally can play, but then who plays? And yet, today, game companies and developers are unleashing the full potential of monetizing their products. It is worth mentioning here that prioritizing profits instead of product quality has caused the attractiveness of those games to go down. And to earn a real game or not, inhibiting players in order to get them to deposit is now a lot more difficult. That is not to say that there are no good games, even that the choice is more diverse and full of genres than before. Because in the 4.0 era, everyone can make games. There are still new, quality products made continuously. Obviously, more and more games suck blood and become less attractive is true, and that is because of the publisher. But the more gamers, the bigger the game, the easier it is to get bored of the game. We can't blame it all on the publishers. So what other reason is there? Mature gamers and difficulties. When we were a child with a pot on our feet and slippers, we had less work to do, less responsibility for everyone around us. Besides studying and doing housework, if we are forced to do it, we have nothing to do, so we can spend all our time playing games. The older you get, the less time you spend on your own hobbies. Math class begins. A day is 24 hours. You sleep 8 hours. You go to work 8 hours. Take a lunch break of 1.5 hours. The time to go to work and return is an hour. Time for eating is an hour. Time for bathing and making love is an hour. Until this moment. You have 3.5 hours left. What do you do in those 3.5 hours? Do you think you can play games? No. Welcome to OT, which means overtime. Later, who would ask me, Latte, why did it take you so long to make a video? Then just make this formula to calculate brothers. Time is limited, so those games that requires a lot of time investment like MMO or needs time to practice like strategy, real-time strategy, looks like you can't play. Now, you need games that can be played in a short, quick time and are not too dependent on friends and teams to play with. Another aspect is that the game is a subject that requires reflexes and coordination, hand-eye brain combination, which is inversely proportional to your age. This is the reason why you guys often act like your sports players are quite young. Their retirement age is even younger than football players. As you grow up, fighting, shooting or action games that require precision and speed will become more and more difficult. But it's easy to get bored. Easy to get bored is normal. Try to imagine you go to school and work all day, play games and get shot in the mouth by a few kids, but you won't get mad. That's why you choose the method is to stop playing the game anymore. The next factor is friends. When it comes to friends to play with, surely every gamer has memories of his teenage years. There are many friends who are willing to spend money to brush up, west, plow hoes, and climb ranks with us. But as time passed, the children we dearly call comrades just kept on dwindling. Partly because they had to take care of their families, others follow a career path. Not many people have time to sit at the computer to form a team like before. But even if they have free time, each person is different. To form a team is, mission impossible. Therefore, when they are adults, most gamers often experience the game alone. This makes those who love the game genre. The team feels that the game has lost its fun and is no longer worth playing as before. The next factor that everyone encounters, not just gamers, is that as you get older, you will face health that is no longer as resilient as before. When I was in school, it was not a problem to sit at night for a few hours continuously. But when you're older, you have been studying and working all day, and when you go home, because what you really want to do is go to sleep. That is not counting the use of electronic devices that are harmful to the eyes, at the same time causing headaches, back pain, neck fatigue, joint diseases, hemorrhoids, internal hemorrhoids, external hemorrhoids, international hemorrhoids, and many other types of hemorrhoids. The harm that when you were young you were not afraid. But now you're afraid of it because you're weak. Oh no, I'm kidding. I'm weaker than you guys. Otherwise I wouldn't be so good at editing videos. The two reasons mentioned above, one from the game maker, the other from the gamers themselves, is actually completely outside. Why? There are times when playing games is extremely interesting. Free time is also available, but let's be honest, you guys look at the Steam library and get bored of playing, right? To account for this, we have to come to my psychology and neuroscience class. First, people often judge something by its rarity or not. The more available something is, the more despised it is, the more difficult it is to find something rare, the more fake it is. For example, Pokemon cards number 1 Tronier is said to have only 7 cards worldwide. That's it, boom! It is valued at $90,000. But if you sit down to drink a piece of cake and eat a piece of water, you will realize that it is just a piece of cardboard. But because of its rarity, the value is pushed up many times. Back to the game. Once upon a time, to get the game to play, you had to buy a disc, borrow a disc, or accumulate money for a whole year. Not to mention the number of games made each year back in the day was much less than now. The concept of free-to-play games is almost non-existent, except for flash games, that is, games on the web in the past. So at that point, every game you buy will be something you've been looking forward to for a long time and will be played by you for a longer time. What's now? Open Steam and there's a bunch of games. The same thing happens if you play games on consoles or phones. Don't want to buy games? You can use services like Game Pass, PlayStation Now, etc. to rent games extremely economically every day, including hundreds of free games for you to play. Of course, there are only a few games that are really good, but it is clear that at the present time, you are never short of games to play. But like I said above, something rare will usually have a higher price, and something that is not rare and can be duplicated as many times as a game, the value in our eyes decreases is understandable. And once its value is not high in our eyes, how do you guys play right? Okay, I know I've been a bit too scientific for a regular reviewer YouTube channel, but if I make a science video, I have to finish what I started. So now, how to cure disease, board game. To avoid falling into the first boring situation like the familiar game that you have started to get tired of, try putting yourself in challenges that don't have to be huge challenges like completing the Elden Ring without armor, because this is not a challenge. That's blood. Please start with simple things that I have never done before in that game. For those of you who like heavier, when you feel that no game gives you a sense of excitement anymore, please using the second way is to put down your hand, hold the gun, put the mouse down, and stop playing video games for a bit. Spend a few days without games on your computer, phone, or any other gaming device, both to experience the game-free life, thereby learning to appreciate the games more and to make the enjoyment of the game more enjoyable. Fade away. I guarantee you, after a short time of application, the game will return to attractiveness, or you will find a new hobby and then quit the game. In short, it's due to a lot of factors, from the house of bad products to the difficulties when gamers grow up and get older, which can make us gradually become more and more bored with the game. To keep the passion, use the game as a form of entertainment, a hobby to play in moderation, to spend time and watch Latte Mill's videos too. Do you understand? And here, the video it also ended. If you find this video interesting and scientific, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of Latte Mill's next videos. I'm Professor Latte. Hello and see you soon.